I'm old enough to remember the days, when you would receive a Nigerian Prince email 5 years ago. When I first started with the company, the volume was way lower. Just to contextualize that, I think we've seen about a 10x increase. If I had statistics here are very clear, though. It's not a matter of if you're going to get compromised, but when. Like 60% of small and medium-sized companies that experience a ransomware attack end up going under at the end of the day. The tools you would require to do something like that ranged from about $100 to $1,000. And when you're talking about, ransoming somebody's information, holding that captive, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in return, sometimes millions. So for 8 minutes, what did they do? They read over 200 emails. And you have to assume that they also downloaded them. So they just have access to those emails now. They own those.
We can maybe catch that, but yeah. I mean, all that shit is so fucking basic.
Welcome to the SOCSoter Unfiltered podcast with your host, Melissa Kaiser. Now let's get started with the show.
Welcome to SOCSoter Unfiltered. I'm your host, Melissa Kaiser, and I have my special guest, Isaac Anderson. Isaac works for SOCSoter as the technical account manager. Welcome, Isaac. Thanks for joining.
Greetings.
This episode is brought to you by SOCSoter. SOCSoter provides a custom cybersecurity platform with multi-layer defense and an MDR Plus platform designed for small and mid-sized businesses. What does this mean for real outcomes? It ensures that SOCSoter provides a complete picture of potential threats to client systems that may go unnoticed for months. The differentiate points are SOCSoter is 100% US-based, led by military cybersecurity veterans who understand compliance requirements, coupled with a capacity to adapt and grow as a business to meet customer needs. If you want a strategy that is backed by 24/7 human-driven SOC monitoring, this customized security stack maximizes protection while reducing workloads, ensuring you stay secure and compliant. For more information, visit SOCSoter.com to learn more. Let's just talk about what you do for SOCSoter. So a technical account manager. So what is that? What do you do? What do you talk to us what you do on a day-to-day basis with our customers?
Yeah, generally, it's a job with a lot of variety, ranges from everything from customer service to service provisioning, making sure that we have things configured appropriately. And our lives in the security world really depend upon us receiving the correct information from our various clients. So it's my responsibility to ensure that everything that we need to see is being ingested so that our analysts can have eyes on it. And one of the privileges of my job too is I basically engage with every team that we have here internally, our executive team, account management team, development team, engineering team, as well as our great SOC analysts who I'm super privileged to work with. A lot of really hardworking folks. You were just saying how fun cybersecurity is. We are the bad news bears, but we try to be the bad news bears with a happy face. So that definitely gets challenging after a while, but it's a huge privilege to work with these folks who really put their heart and souls into keeping our customers protected.
Right, and then you also help design some of the reports too, correct? Because we also do some custom reports, and you help designing that. So you're using left brain and right brain a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just with the experience that I have on the technical side and experience engaging with our clients and seeing their needs. I also have some history in graphic design, so I was able to put those two things together and design our reports so that they're, nice looking and also just useful.
Well, it engages left brain and right brain, right?
Yeah.
The more of the creative. So I learned a fun fact yesterday. I was listening to a podcast, and most Nobel Prize winners have some sort of hobby that includes their left brain. Like they like to do art or music or acting. So they get to be a little bit more creative. And that seems to separate the Nobel Prize winners from, your average Joe. So you never know, Isaac.
Yeah,
there might be a Nobel Prize winner in your future.
Mine's arriving in the mail next week.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so you engage and then you talk to probably all the customers, all our customers base you spoke to. So it runs the gamut from like two people to one person, MSPs to end customers with thousands of endpoints. So,
Yeah.
our customer base is very different. What do you think? So, well, if we could get back to the alerts and the high alerts and everything, uh, what what do you think? What do you think is driving the change or the increase? Do you think AI has something to do with it? Do you think that maybe everybody is attacking something, or what do you think? More sophisticated tools that the attackers are using?
Yeah. Yeah, certainly AI plays a role in it. And you were mentioning at the beginning how 5 years ago, when I first started with the company, the volume was way lower. Just to contextualize that, I think we've seen about a 10x increase, if I had to say.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a conservative, I think, estimate here. Um, yeah, I think AI certainly plays a big role in that. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the days, when you would receive a Nigerian Prince email,
Yeah.
and that was
So
kind of
old
the dead
school.
giveaway. Yeah. Or, anybody who's even mildly technically competent is able to evaluate an email for something like broken English or, spot a logo that looks weird. But those giveaways are just no longer a reliable predictor of phishing in particular. Um, you can have somebody in India and Calcutta with broken English who can very, very easily even do spear phishing, targeting CEOs and higher level executives in the context of a company with threat tools ranging from, I mean, this is quoting a metric from back in 2022, so it's not even really all that applicable anymore. But even then, the tools you would require to do something like that ranged from about $100 to $1,000. And when you're talking
Yeah.
about ransoming somebody's information, holding that captive, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in return, sometimes millions. So yeah, the value is very, very evident to these threat actors, and it's also just a quantity thing. It's so much easier to send out a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's like I think they can buy something off the dark web and it's maybe like $50. The most expensive thing is buying email addresses and throwing them all out, and see which one will somebody will open. So odds are pretty good that somebody's going to open something up or not catch it. Um, yeah, it's lucrative. We're in the wrong business if we want to make some money. Seriously.
you got it
Because I don't think it'll be very hard to get caught because there's so
right.
many
Yeah,
out there. And
yeah,
just use a private VPN, coming from Iowa,
yeah, yeah. That's right.
that should be okay. Iowa, we like corn.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, they're good guys over there. Good
yeah,
middle America. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a big part of identifying, especially cloud-based compromises like in Azure historically has been based on geolocation data. And 3, 4 years ago, predictably, you would see those logins from Nigeria and you just dead giveaway,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
for
right.
sure.
Um, but now threat actors have definitely wised up. They're definitely using virtual infrastructure that's much more approximately located geographically speaking to where the actual customer is. So that's no longer a great predictor of compromise. We still catch some stuff through that, but more and more threat actors are using more sophisticated techniques to gain access.
And the vector is Microsoft 365, right? That's
Yes.
where we're seeing most of the high alerts coming from. Yeah. So when I talk to customers, I'm always like, we have to monitor your Microsoft. Have
Mhm.
to. It shouldn't be,
Yeah.
let's save some money because an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So we
Yeah.
gotta see that. So that's one of my things when I talk to my customers. I'm like, even if because I do compliance and it's mostly CMMC, and we'll get to that later because I really like CMMC. Um, it's just you just have to have it nowadays, and if you don't,
Yeah.
you're just opening yourself up
Yeah.
for Like, how much do I have to pay, or how long are they going to be in my network? And, it's super embarrassing to tell your customers that this happened. But,
Yeah,
some people like to put their head in the sand and be an ostrich and pretend it's not happening, see no evil, hear no evil. So,
yeah.
so, um, so you're involved with a lot of incidents then, right? Every time there's a high alert, do you get involved with all that? All of
Yep.
it? Like contacting the
Yeah,
customers? Okay.
yeah, more often
So,
than not, teaching with that.
because are you the one that makes the phone call to the customer and say, hey, or is it a SOC member?
Mhm. Yeah, generally, any call from me would follow a call from our SOC team. They're
Okay.
going to be the folks who most directly have their hands in the incident and have all the facts in front of them. Generally, what's happening is the SOC is backfilling me on any incident, providing me with the information so that I can do a deeper, more thorough assessment and then present kind of a more refined picture to the client after the fact. But yeah, our analysts are generally going to be your first touch point when an incident hits.
Okay. And you get involved because typically you've already talked to them and already have a relationship with them. Is
Yes.
that, yeah. Okay. So you're getting a high alert, what, once a day? Almost?
2 to 3 times a day, some weeks.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what does it look like? What's happening? What can our customers do to lock down their 365 instance? What are they
Yeah.
doing wrong?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to talk about the entry points for attackers first. I mean, there's a wide variety of different things can be done. We've covered phishing, but that can lead
Mm.
to stuff like credential theft. But there's also malicious browser extensions, malware on the endpoint that can lead to session theft, all kinds of different stuff. So the entry point for the threat actors are they're just easier to establish than they ever have been. But on the basis of kind of what I've seen, most of the incidents that we see boil down to improperly configured conditional access policies.
Mm.
I think Microsoft tries to go, while they offer a great product in a lot of ways, they go a very long way to reassuring you that their product is safe
Mm.
without actually giving you, I think, the resources necessary to understand your obligations in terms of managing your own infrastructure in the cloud.
Yeah.
Um, so one example of this is their risky sign-in detection, which, just to be frank, from our perspective on the security side, is almost worse than useless. I don't know what magic sauce Microsoft puts into that, but it's not a good thing to rely on for your company's security. As far
So
as
what do they need to
conditional,
do?
yeah. So on the conditional access side, there's really four things that I think are most important in that context. So, yeah, being really engaged with your conditional access policy and setting it according to your company's needs is a critical thing. But just as four kind of broad headings, these are what I think would prevent the majority of incidents that we see. The first thing that I would recommend is not allowing unmonitored resources to access your company's Office 365 Azure. This is huge. You have a lot of folks, especially executives, who are very happy to access whatever they want from their home computers, which have God knows what on them. Um,
Oh, I see. I see. So what you're saying is only use your computers that have been patched, antivirus, SIM, vulnerability scanned. So it's those devices have something on them that is bad,
Correct.
and they're allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
Yep, because they're the CEOs, they own the company. They're accepting all
Yeah.
the risk. They can do what they want, because it's all about ease versus security, but they're opening a can of worms.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. And I don't know, I would even say to a certain degree, restricting mobile access would be good. The
Yeah.
solutions really for full-fledged monitoring, I think on mobile are underdeveloped compared to desktop and laptop. So especially on Android machines, I would be wary of
Yeah, Androids, yeah.
access using those. Yeah, and the other thing is if you're primarily using your mobile provider's network, also geolocation can be tricky for us to identify using mobile ISPs IPs. They tend to
Gotcha.
be inaccurate and tend to move around a fair bit. So that makes the job of the SOC more difficult as well. But yeah, just do not allow access to any company infrastructure from unmonitored systems. You need to have some kind of endpoint monitoring SIEM solution on those endpoints, so that you can see
Mm,
that there's no malware on them. Um,
gotcha.
the other thing I would recommend is enforcing multi-factor authentication globally. Um, I think this is
Oh
like,
boy, they don't do that anymore? Oh
yeah,
wow.
we've seen several of the larger companies that we work with not enforcing MFA globally, and that is a huge issue. Certainly,
Wow.
MFA globally, really, really important. Doesn't matter who the user is. Doesn't matter where they're working from, in the office, out of the office. Enforce MFA everywhere.
But MFA sucks.
No, nobody ever
I
said
think I
security.
had an MFA in like 5 different times today for different things. So yes, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
Actually, I
yeah.
think I did it more today than like almost 10 times, but it's a part of doing business is to keep yourself safe. Okay, that's
Yeah.
number 3. What's the fourth one?
Geofiltering, pretty
Okay.
straightforward one. So we talked again how threat actors are becoming more wise to and using VPNs that are more local, that are giving them an IP that's more local to where the actual customer location is. So, but geofiltering, geo blocking, and conditional access can be a really good way to cut out some of those really obvious ones like logins from Nigeria. If all of your users are
Mm.
US based, you should be limiting all access to the US. It's a very straightforward thing.
Right, but a threat actor in Nigeria could set up a VPN in Iowa and then they're escaping those
Yeah,
geofiltering, right? So
yeah,
those VPNs are kind of tricky sometimes.
yeah,
So,
that's right. So I think not to get too basic, but the way in which I like to think about conditional access or security more broadly as a category, when it comes to physical security, there's no way to deter a really motivated criminal, right? If somebody is determined to break into your house, doesn't matter how good your locks are, doesn't matter how many window alarms you have, doesn't matter how many door alarms you have. A sufficiently determined criminal is going to get into your house. That's just an
right.
unfortunate reality of the world in which we live. Similarly, with conditional access, what we're trying to do is assess each possible vector where a threat actor might gain access to the environment and kind of deal with those vectors independently. But what we're putting together as a full picture is a deterrent.
Yeah, the
We're
harder it is to get
yeah,
in, they're not going to waste their time. They're going to move on to somebody else.
exactly.
So, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, so make it a little bit more, make it harder for them to get in and move into the next guy.
Yeah,
Probably like a retail store, I would think, because retail stores, they're not very secure, my experience. Um, it's usually the ones in a highly regulated environment are the ones that are probably the most secure because they have to. There's that sharp stick there. Is that what you're seeing too? The ones that get a high alert? What type of industries are they typically in? Have you noticed a pattern or anything?
oh, it's across the board.
Okay.
Every industry is a target. And in fact, something I wanted to bring up earlier is my wife works for a local business here in Hagerstown, just a regular old printing company. They had one of their Azure accounts get compromised, and it caused huge customer impact. The threat actor got into their emails and sent out basically an additional phishing email to every client they had on file, and they
Wow.
had to, profusely apologize for the inconvenience. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is pretty much across the board. Threat actors, well, while some of the more competent ones may be trying to target larger companies, generally speaking, every industry, every company is fair game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, recently with us, we had one vendor that I just got an email to pay. I paid, and then like 2 hours later, it was like, oh, there was an email that went out to pay, and I'm like, well, crap, was that me? Because I'm like, I know I owe a bill. I know I owe an invoice. It looked right. What, and then it took
Yeah.
like a month and then they say, we never got your money. And it's like, well, that's a you problem, not a me
Yeah.
problem. I already paid,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was somebody just clicked on something, we don't know what happened. And, then it caused all this problems for us
Oh yeah.
because I'm like, I'm not paying again. That's their fault. And then it was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we made a mistake. You then paid. And it's just like, well, can you get your story straight, please? Because I don't know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it causes. Um, so did your wife's company, did they have MFA and all that other stuff or no?
I don't know enough details about the situation to say for sure. This is
Mhm.
certainly not a company that we were monitoring. But at any rate, I think what it does is it highlights the need for a service like ours, regardless of what industry you're coming from or regardless of what compliance requirements you have. The threats out there are very real, they're very persistent, and they affect everybody. Not just people who are, working with the DoD, contractors or in healthcare or insurance or any of the other industries that would require a compliance standard.
Speaking of compliance, because that's near and dear to my heart. What do you think of compliance is a good thing, bad thing? What's your personal opinion? Has it
uh,
changed over the years?
Oh my gosh. I don't I think it's a net good. I'm grateful that a lot of companies are being forced to kind of reevaluate their security posture. I have not a huge amount of experience with compliance, but there
Well,
seems to
I
be
know
a
it's like a hot potato. Everybody
yeah,
kicks it over to me, including you. And you're like, I'm
yeah,
out, I'm
yeah,
out.
and I'm happy to
It's
do
like, I
it.
don't
You go
want to
ahead.
deal with this. And it's just like,
Yeah.
la 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 la. That's what a lot of
Yeah.
people do. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
But the issues with self-attestation are very obvious, which is the way that things have been historically done. So I think some amount of cracking down on companies that were being dishonest is critical, The
mhm.
impact's just too huge now. And it was kind of funny. So you were talking about financials. I think probably another thing to dive into with Azure, I mean, there's a lot there, but in terms of what a threat actor is going to actually do when they get into your account, that might be something worth discussing.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people are probably familiar with the fact that threat actors like to send out a whole bunch of additional phishing emails to internal personnel, to customers, really whoever they can get a hold of. But the actors are becoming far more sophisticated with what they're doing when they actually gain access now as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
what's that?
yeah, so the first one we see and most common is setting up inbox rules. What they're trying to
Mhm.
do is deviate emails from your primary inbox over to a little corner of your inbox so that you don't see the emails that are coming in. So that
Oh,
way the threat
interesting.
actor can see them, you're not seeing them. The other thing is, you were talking about how during COVID, a lot of folks moved to cloud-based infrastructure. Well, SharePoint and OneDrive, these are huge targets for threat actors as well.
Yeah.
Downloading files, manipulating files. I mean, maybe it would probably help to kind of outline one of the most recent incidents we saw. The threat actor had access for about 8 minutes to this account, just to provide context. So for 8 minutes, what
Okay.
did they do? They read over 200 emails,
Wow.
and you have to assume that they also downloaded them, so they just have access to
Hmm.
those emails now. They own those. They went ahead and uploaded malicious files to the company's SharePoint. We saw that in the session. They also set up a malicious survey using Office 365 tools.
Wow.
And then also downloaded a whole bunch of stuff from OneDrive. And they added a malicious application to the tenant as well. So this is not kind of your run-of-the-mill script kiddie behavior.
Yeah, that's crazy.
um,
What kind of
yeah,
company was it? What industry? Do you remember?
not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah,
So either there was a lot of people doing it or they told AI to do something
yeah,
because nobody can go that fast.
Yeah,
without.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's all scripted behavior. Eight
Yeah.
minutes. There's no way a single person is reading 200 emails and then
Hmm.
doing the rest of that. So yeah, it's definitely automated, definitely scripted. But again, the tools were exceptionally cheap in 2022. They're far cheaper and far easier to access now. So the risks are real there.
So how did we help them remediate then? We just said, this is what happened.
Yeah.
These are the files. So we just walked our customer through, like, get rid of this, get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this they gained access through a user credentials, right? Is that correct? Okay, so user credentials, they got in through that. Now, hopefully it wasn't an admin credential. Was it just a user credential?
I think it was actually an admin credential in
Oh,
this
oh my
specific
God.
case, if
Okay.
memory serves. This was about a month and a half ago. So with 2 to 3 happening per day on some weeks, like it's a little
Yeah,
difficult
yeah,
to remember every single detail. But
yeah. Oh
um,
God.
yeah, it was a lot. So for one, from our perspective, we have an incredible engineering team that has some customized scripts that allow us to very quickly and easily assess what was done during the malicious session in question. So it gives very clear kind of directives to the MSP and to the end client in terms of what to do next. So those resources are hugely helpful.
Right. And I just want to point out one thing too, is like we didn't charge the customer for this portion of it, did we? It's part of
Oh
our
yeah,
service,
yeah,
correct? We did.
100%.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think that's super important because I
Mhm.
think a lot of other services, they don't go that far. They just say, oh, here's this that happened.
Yeah.
Good luck. Go look at these logs. You have an actual team who comes in and says, this has all happened in 8 minutes. And they identify it, and you work with a customer to try to clean it up, eradicate, and go back to normal activities.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm not sure a lot of our customers, our partners would be able to do something like that quickly and identify it. So I think
Yeah.
that's, a pat on the back for you guys to go ahead and do all that. And you probably did it really quickly, right? You probably cleaned it
Oh
up
yeah.
within, probably identified it all within an hour or so. So,
Yeah,
um,
100%. Generally, output from our engineering team, we can get a full report ready for you within 30 minutes of an incident as it currently
wow,
stands. Very soon, we're going to be introducing new functionality to our portal, which will allow a session export of the same quality to happen within less than a minute.
wow,
Uh, so
that's
yeah,
pretty
you're going to have
cool.
the facts in front of you very, very quickly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's super helpful because I don't think a lot of our competitors have something like that. I think it's more like, go help yourself.
Mhm.
This is the end of our service agreement, where I think you guys could just like to go a little bit further and make sure that the end customer is protected and taken care of,
Yeah.
because this was treated like our business, what we would like to do. So,
Yeah.
wow, that's great. Um, is there anything else you would like to talk about? Add cool things? What else you
Yeah.
got?
I think again, so much of this conversation is revolved around Azure. I think it probably behooves me one more time just to kind of outline these bullet pointed recommendations I would offer. So we talked about not allowing access from unmonitored systems,
Yeah.
making sure that MFA is enforced globally, doing geofiltering and conditional access.
Hmm.
The last one, which we didn't really discuss, was requiring frequent reauthentication with
Oh,
multi-factor.
right. Hmm.
Um, so in fact, internally, it's a little bit of a joke. Our engineering team, if one of us ticks them off internally, they force us to reauthenticate daily. I don't know that that's necessary for most environments.
You know what? I think they really hate me because there was one time I had to re-authenticate like 4 different times.
Yeah.
I did something to really
Yep.
piss them off because I'm like, I hate my life.
Yeah. To some extent, it's nice. You know where you stand. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think if I was managing any Azure environment, I would at minimum force reauthentication weekly. And what that does is, even if a threat actor is very surreptitious, very quiet, they're doing
Hmm.
things under the
Well, eight
radar.
hours and all that stuff, and if a week, God, how much
Yeah,
damage could you do? I know
exactly.
for CMMC, it's like I wish for re-authentication daily, at least
Yeah.
24 hours. Um, but then it becomes business impacting. So maybe a week is good because some people are like me. I had to re-authenticate into Microsoft, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, Teams
Yeah.
5 times a day, every single
Yeah.
day, times 5 just for that. But yeah, I think that's a bit excessive, but maybe a week, yeah, is probably good if you don't have a sim. Even better if you do have a sim,
Yeah.
you know, we can maybe catch that. But yeah, I mean, all that shit is so fucking basic, are a requirement for CMMC anyway.
Yeah.
But when I get in and I look at the customers for CMMC, they don't have any of this stuff. There's none of it established. And we have to establish everything, not only
Yeah.
on Microsoft side, but usually on the Active Directory side too, because that's not set either.
Yeah.
So, like manufacturers, they're a big thing because they're still stuck in the 2000s as far as technology and what they want to do. And culturally, people hate it, you know?
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it this way for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Don't change me. Don't move my cheese. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that book, but it's an old book. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
mean, the statistics here are very clear, though. It's not a matter of if you're going to get compromised, but when.
yeah.
And this specifically does not relate to Azure compromises, but I do recall seeing an article that said that something like 60% of small and medium-sized companies that experience a ransomware attack end up going under at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, this is a hugely significant statistic. You're losing the trust of your customers. It's just an
Hard to recover.
enormous, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
financially and trust-wise.
Yeah.
So stuff like this is hugely critical. And the way in which this ties into Azure is most companies are hosting the majority of their information there. So
Yeah.
that's an asset that you need to be protecting and you need to be watching out for. And when it comes to cybersecurity from a big picture perspective, just like we were talking about with the conditional access policies, it's all about increasing that resistance level for the threat actor so they give up. Likewise, you need to have coverage from multiple vectors. Not every company is going to look the same. Not every company is doing things in the same way. So, having discussions about what vectors you want to cover and how you want to cover them is just hugely critical, to ensuring your company's long-term survival. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And I think, we also have to put a disclaimer out there. What I tell everybody, SOCSoter is not clairvoyant
Mm.
because they think we know everything in their network. Like,
Yeah,
because they think we're clairvoyant. We should know that VPN access is not authorized, right? But yet they have a VPN and they allow it. So, and it's like, how are we supposed to know? You never told us. We didn't know. You didn't set it up right.
yeah,
And I think that's one of the things that our customers just assume that we're clairvoyant. And I'm like, we're not. You have to just tell us. You have to
yeah,
tell us what's going on. And, and even still, when we have thousands of customers, you might have to tell us again, because we have a lot
yeah,
of customers. So
yeah, yeah.
we're not
And there's
clairvoyant.
there's Yeah, and from my perspective, there's multiple stages of that learning enterprise too. It's why I really enjoy developing relationships with our MSP partners. But there's the stuff you want on the front end, just the very obvious sources of information. If they have Office 365, we want that info.
Yeah.
If they have a local network, we want the packets that are crossing that network. We want information from that Active Directory server. We want information from that firewall. But as we go along, the needs of that client are going to be exposed, and they're going to, tell us what their priorities are. So keeping that
Mhm.
conversation rolling, and continuing to inform our team about what's helpful to you, what's setting you back, allows us to work with you to really tailor your security
Right.
posture so that we have full
That's right.
coverage.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to communicate that because what were you doing last year might have changed to the new year. You
Yeah,
might have gotten a new firewall and it was only partially set up.
yeah,
And, or you just got, and you didn't set it up and we said we stopped getting logs from it, but you forgot and we told you, but you didn't read the alert,
Yep.
so it's a team effort. It's definitely a team effort. We just need to
Yeah.
communicate, and it gets hard, right? It gets hard to communicate sometimes, but we're here to partner and to make our customers safe, I think. So let's work together. Yeah. So so Isaac, I appreciate your time with us today. I think it was very helpful, and I didn't swear at all, so that's a good thing. That's unusual. Um, but I appreciate your time, and thank you, and talk to you later.
It's
All
my
right,
pleasure. Thank you for having me on, Melissa.
great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the SOCSoter Unfiltered podcast. Be sure to check out other episodes and subscribe so you don't